So this is.
It's so funny. People done that. Hello, everybody. I always, it's like fun to get in here and do this. Thanks everybody for showing up and for watching this Facebook Live. And for those of you who are watching the recording on any of our different social media platforms, welcome to you as well. I am excited today because today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is implementing effective workflow processes. And I'm going to just take a quick moment to introduce myself, and then I'm going to introduce the guests that I am super excited to have with me today. My name is Damian Reed. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the CEO of Damian M. Reed International. And what we do at that organization is empower women to do being an entrepreneur on their own terms. I'm also the CEO of Amorvita, which is an online community connecting entrepreneurs and service providers, and recently founded a new company called MDI, which provides back-end services for small businesses. I'm excited this year to be in the process of launching and expanding a new organization called Entrepreneurs Thriving, which supports entrepreneurs who are living with mental health challenges, and look forward to sharing more about that in the future with you. I've got three fantastic guests. Actually, I think that I could actually shut up and just let the three of them talk, and you would learn a hell of a lot more than if I have anything to say. So I'm mostly going to facilitate this conversation because amongst them, they have decades of experience on this topic. So my first guest, I gotta like skip over to like LinkedIn so I get a couple of little pointers. My first guest is Kimberly Fu-Skubik, and Kimberly has been an entrepreneur for over 15 years as a serial entrepreneur. We had her on as a guest a while back, for those of you who are following these lives. And Kimberly made a pivot during the COVID times. Her background is in event management, specifically around weddings. So she's got all of that events management background, and she's been an accomplished florist, etc. And Kimberly launched a new business called Ad Oil Consulting and Coaching, where she helps overworked entrepreneurs do the things that they hate to focus on and do the things that they actually love. So she's bringing all of her amazing background from those multiple businesses and bringing that to bear with serving entrepreneurs now. So that's really exciting. Kimberly, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Anything you want to add to what I said?
No, you pretty much summed it up.
All right.
Yeah. So
all right,
continue.
I told you guys, I can do it.
Fine. You can do it. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I could do it. All right. We also have Abby Weiss on with us, and Abby is out of Denver. And Woo. Abby's looking forward to the snowstorm that's not going to particularly land in her region in the near future. Mm-hmm. Abby's has got a wide diversity of background. And right now she works as a consultant, providing brand consulting, public speaking, leadership development, team building. She works with change management, presentation design, writing, strategic planning, content strategy, and training. So she does a whole set of things for small businesses. And I'm super excited to have you on here. And it's been a while since you and I have played together, so to speak.
It is so great to see you. Thank you so much for having me. And I just have to say, I feel like the four of us have the coolest names. I'm like looking at our names. I'm like, I mean, Abby's kind of unique, but like Kimberly Fu-Skubik, like what? I want a t-shirt. I want a t-shirt with that name on it. Okay. And then Haji, like I need a t-shirt with all of our names. So I'm super excited to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Damian.
Yeah, super excited to have you here as well. Anything you want to add to the intro?
No, I mean, you captured it. It is, when you have as much experience, I think, as all of us have, and you have done what you've done in the corporate industry, you just become this like jack of all trades. And I think something that we deal with as entrepreneurs is how do we communicate who we are and what we do? So I appreciate the opportunities like this to be able to actually say it. So thanks so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm really glad that you're able to be on here. And then finally, we've got Sheikhnur Haji, who has been, man, you also tons and tons of different experience. Haji reminded me that he worked for me 30 years ago. And I was joking with the group before we went online that he was working for me when we were both in kindergarten, because that's about how old both are. Anyway, so Haji is the executive director of Plus One Management and Strategy Consulting, which is an international organization that focuses on organizational development, training, human resources management, and telecommunications management. He has managed teams, very small teams of 10 or 20 people, all the way up to teams of 3,000, and has in his most recent past been actually responsible for working with enterprise workforce management teams in one of the major telecommunications company here in Canada. So I'm super excited to have you on here. Welcome.
Thank you, Damien. Always a pleasure to catch up despite the years.
He pointed out that we have a little bit more gray than we had when we last worked out with each other. All right, so look, we got 30 minutes and we're like 7 minutes in, so I really want to get into some meat. You guys, this is going to be really value packed. So grab a pencil, paper, get ready to take notes. Let me say two things. The first is, where this conversation comes from is from this book that I wrote a few years ago called Pure Entrepreneurialitis: 52 Habits to Earn the Freedom You Deserve. And habit number 14 in this book says, document, map, and operate your business using workflow processes, okay? And the habits actually support what I call the 7-step to the freedom lifestyle process that I work with my clients on. And this is one of those habits that could have the value of like 10 other habits combined, and people don't really get it. So we're going to go talk about that. Those of you who are watching live, if you've got questions as we go, just type them into the Facebook chat and we'll answer them throughout this live. So let me, you guys, I'm going to start with some question. What does workflow processes mean to you? So like, let's just get that clear for people. Because I had someone message me today because I said, send me advanced questions. And they're like, what does this even mean? What's workflow processes? So what does it mean to you? Who wants to go first? Well, I thought Kimberly unmute first, so you get to go first.
Oh, I didn't know this was a competition. I mean, I'll do that next time then. The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of workflows is structure. Okay. So when you think about your business, there's so many things in the air, and you're probably wearing many, many different hats. And when you have a workflow, it kind of compartmentalizes everything and lays everything out in a structure that you can manage, and kind of takes out the overwhelm. That's kind of the first thing that I think of.
Okay. All right, good. Cool. Abby?
So, workflow processes either mean headache or freedom, right? Depending on if you implement one that actually works. And I think that for me, it's a lot of finding what works for you versus what everyone tells you should do. But how I like to frame it is a workflow for me gives me a container. It gives me where I can kind of run wild in, and I'm not worried about things. So it gives me a little freedom in my mind to go and do the things that I actually love to do, interacting with people, coaching, consulting, like creating. And if I have a workflow process, it leads me to the next step. So it gives me the space to be kind of wild and there's like something that's holding my wildness. So I can be wild and bounce back and forth in here. That's what it means to me.
Cool. All right. I like that. Haji, how about you? What does it mean to you?
To me, it's what's painful, how much is it costing you, and what do you want to do about it?
What's painful? How much is it costing you? What are you going to do about it? I like that. Because everything that I would say about workflow actually fits right into one of those three things, especially the how much is it costing you part, which is, I think, what a lot of people don't actually recognize. The time cost, the opportunity cost, the the financial cost of not having workflow, which is something I want to get into. I want to come back to that. So how do you explain workflow to a potential client? Because some people are like, you start talking to them about where they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, are you talking about like, you're talking automation? Like, you're talking about like putting in a system? Like, what are you talking about? How do you explain it, Haji?
I tend to go back from if you have a product or service that you're delivering to a customer, even if you're doing something for a friend and family, what is it that's the irritant that's impeding you from success? Work it backwards. First of all, let's paint the picture of the pain that you're facing, and then let's talk about, is this something that you want to do something about?
Well, what if they say, I don't have any pain in delivering this thing? Like, I do whatever I do and there's no pain. Like I just, I delivered the food to my mom last week. What does that have to do with workflow?
A lot of it is based on, if it's an organization with a small or big,
Yeah.
you may not be feeling the pain, but is it costing you dollars?
Yeah.
So you would rather redirect somewhere else.
Okay. All right.
So the pain is beyond just more than just a relationship. It's also the dollars. And do you want to do something about it? Do you feel that the customers can win?
Okay. Fair enough. Kimberly or Abby, anything you guys want to add to that? Like, how do you talk about it to
I usually explain it like it's almost like a mind map of how you naturally do things. And then it would identify where you can be more efficient, right? So like when I create workflows for people, I don't try to stray, because if you're a type B personality, you're not used to these things, right? Like you're not used to following a step-by-step whatever. Right? Like it's like if you're a type B and I give you a checklist of 10 things you have to do and you have to check it every day to see if you went through the steps, like that's just like it's foreign language to people, right? So to me, it's more so mind mapping what's already there.
Yeah.
And that's what I call your existing workflow, right? Like how do you already do things?
Yep.
But to what, Haji, right? That's how you pronounce your name.
Yeah.
That's to his point, the cost benefits and the analysis falls within that, because then you will actually see the bigger picture of how efficient you're being and how much time are you actually spending on these various different things within what you're already used to doing.
Gotcha. Abby, what would you add to that?
Well, I have a different approach to it, a less cerebral approach to it. So, and I think it's just a contextual shift. It's not like it's better or it's right. It's more like, what makes you happy? What brings you joy? What feels good to you? So, wow, it feels really good if I'm gonna have a free offering, and then I want to do a 5-day challenge or whatever the thing is, like as you move your customers through a sales funnel, or if something as simple as your calendar. The calendar is a very powerful and effective tool as a workflow process. So if you like colors, then you should do it in colors. So I like to work with, a lot of the work that I do with the clients I have is a very intuitive process of what feels right to you, what feels good, what's gonna make you want to use that workflow that you've implemented. Because if you can have the most expensive, amazing, awesome CRM or whatever, and if you don't like it, or it's like, oh, I have to do it because it's just not gonna work anyways, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I talk to my clients a little bit less about pain and a little bit more about joy. Like, what would bring you joy? A little Marie Kondo, I guess you could. Doesn't she say that? She's like, what does this spark joy? I think that's what she says, right? Yeah. So for me, it's that look of what's gonna make me happy, what feels right. Because when it feels good and it feels right, I'm gonna use it.
I love, one of the things I love about having all three of you on is that every single one of your approaches would work for a different kind of client.
Yeah.
People will respond to, tell me about
all
the
workflows,
pain, right?
everything we just said.
They're like, I'm not doing anything unless it hurts me or it's costing me something. And
exactly.
people will only respond to, I'm not doing anything unless I love it and I feel good about it. And then there those, like you said, Kim, like those B-type personalities that you got to figure out, like, how do you actually create something for them that they'll engage with? Because if you give them a checklist, they don't.
Well,
they don't,
and then on that point, I think it also does relate to problems too, and joy. Like, it's a balance, right?
Yes.
Because there are things that you're used to, but then they might not be working.
Yeah.
So then it's kind of like, okay, yes, we're going to look at what you're used to doing, and of course, we want to make sure that you enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
You know, but then at the same time, you're obviously coming to, like, if I'm working with a client, you're obviously coming to me because something's not working.
Yeah.
Right. So then your usual way of doing things may bring you joy because, you know, that's what you're comfortable with.
Yep.
But is it achieving the results that you want to achieve?
Well,
and
then
then
they may not be coming to you. I'm going to challenge something there, because they may not be coming to you because something isn't working. They may actually be coming to you because someone like me tells them that they need to talk to somebody like you. Because I am someone who preaches the workflow practice. Like, I preach workflow, but I hate working on that for clients.
That's amazing.
Like my Colby, I do.
You need this. I'm not going to do it for you.
No, man, I'm a quick start. Like, I don't know if you know the Colby index, but I'm a quick start. I don't do minutia. I don't like, if you give me a process to follow, I might follow it 50% of the time. Like, I gotta have a team that either manages me to do that or manages the process. Cause I'm like, but I know the importance of it. It's not like, you know, like, but I don't have the time and patience for it. But
a great question.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but a great question to ask people is, how do they pay their bills? So do you pay your bills, like you sit down with your stack of bills either online and you go through each bill and you like manage it and you match it up and yep, that's correct? Or are you someone like Abby who literally has her rent on auto pay?
Yeah.
Like, everything I do is on auto pay. I need automated practices because I'm like you. I don't want to get into the minutia. I'm big picture. Yeah. So I think one of the ways to implement an effective workflow process, if you are a single entrepreneur, solopreneur, is what are the things they're doing that already work?
Yeah.
Oh, I pay my bills automatically. So we should probably set up a lot of automated systems for you in terms of your workflow process. Oh, I like to get in there. I need to know exactly to the penny what that electric company is charging me. Okay, fine. Then we're going to be more hands-on.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you guys, here's my next question for you. What do you say are the top 2 reasons why someone should even bother with workflow in their business? Haji, go ahead. Yeah.
The first one would be, what's the benefit to the service, the service that you provided to your customer?
Okay.
Is that beneficial for you?
Yeah. Okay. Number 2?
Number 2, in my opinion, would be, do you really think that there's an upside for your client to be able to service their customer better?
Okay. Gotcha. All right, good. Abby?
Oh, no. I'm like the person at the table that always goes last when they're ordering. So I'm not ready yet.
You can think some more. I'll come back to you. Kimberly?
Okay.
That's not fair. You can't do that. That's not fair.
I can absolutely do that.
So first thing that comes to mind, especially with a lot of my clients, it's overwhelm.
Okay.
It's a lot of I'm doing things the way that I'm doing it, but like I have a lot of blind spots and I can't find the time to go find the blind spots. It's just like, it's a lot. Like everything is just like, they're just like on this hamster wheel.
Yeah.
And then I feel like the second thing is that if you have a good workflow going, you can focus on other things that actually matter. Like if you're a solopreneur and you're the only person, running the business, you're also the sales team and you should be focusing on sales, right? Like instead of tracking, like Abby said, like tracking when the electricity bill is coming out, instead of that, you should be going to meet clients, because without you as a solopreneur doing that, then there is no business.
Right.
Right. So it's like those 2 things, overwhelm and being able to like dispelling overwhelm and then being able to focus on things that actually will keep your business running.
Yeah, and I'll say one thing about that solopreneur doing bills. Hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah. It was just an example, you guys.
So many people.
I know. I'm not talking about you, Abby Weiss. Yours is all done, all set up.
Mine's all automated.
That solopreneur that's doing their bookkeeping. I get like, hire a damn big bookkeeper. That's my answer. Abby, you're okay.
Sorry.
Okay. You get to go last. What is it?
Okay, I'm ready. Okay, so I think it's the 2 reasons why. That was your question, right?
Yeah, why? Top 2 reasons why bother with workflow.
First is keeping things simple.
Yep.
So that like you can speak to, I mean, exactly what Kimberly and Haji said, like, so your focus is on the things that you're best at, right? And then the second thing I would say is freedom. So you're free from the concerns of certain things, you're free from the worry of certain things, and you can keep, again, your attention on what you love. I just believe like when you love something, it magnetizes. So if you're doing the things that you don't love to do or that are difficult, then you are repelling. If you're doing the things that you love to do and that are simple and easy and you're having fun doing it, you are a magnet for more business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you hit on a word that's really near and dear to my heart, that freedom word. Everything that I talk about is all around freedom, because I think that as entrepreneurs, we all have a vision of a certain kind of what we would call freedom when we start our businesses. And then there's what we do now that isn't a match for that. And that gap that exists, we can narrow that gap with workflow processes.
And everybody wants to be an entrepreneur because of this idea of freedom, right?
Yes.
Like,
anybody that's got actually a tolerance for risk.
Right. Like I don't know any entrepreneur that I know that went into business for themselves because they wanted to be shackled to whatever, anything, right? Like that's the overall idea. Sorry, Haji, I cut you off. But like freedom is a huge thing, because otherwise what are we doing this for?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
I think it's important as an entrepreneur. We all know at the end of the day we're people and we play in areas that we feel most comfortable in. And there's a lot of entrepreneurs, me included, that say, oh man, like I want to do something about that, but that's not my skill set.
Yes.
Right. And we tend to shy away from the problem and kind of, all right, I'll do that later. Or, when I have time, knowing it's still painful and knowing that it's not your happy place.
Yes.
And if that matters more and you feel like, all right, I've had enough of that pain, it's time to then say, all right, I got to do something about it. And is it me now, me later, or someone else?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair.
Those terms.
I'm going to add one thing to the list of things that you guys said, and I mentioned it in my book. Another reason to have workflow processes in place in any business is that you don't really have an exit strategy from that business without it. No one's going to buy a business that lives in your head.
That's right.
Right? So if you don't have that all down, your business is unsaleable. And unless you've got some other different exit plan, I mean, I know that most entrepreneurs do not have an exit strategy, because I deal with that every single day when I'm interacting with clients. But if your exit strategy is that you want to sell your business, you can't without
well, to that point, I was also going to say that without workflows, it's also really hard to grow.
Yeah.
Right. Like with people, with other people. Historically, businesses need people in order to grow. Yeah. Right. But if everything's in your head and there's nothing, a structure, like I said before, like on paper, whatever, however way that you do things, that's not figured out, how can you bring people in to help this grow?
Yeah.
Right? Then you're just like throwing stuff out there to people, right? With kind of no structure. They don't know where to help if they don't know where to be put in.
That is so good, Kimberly. What just came to me when you said that was the opportunity for being scalable, right? Because that's everyone's dream, and it's every ad you see. If you're an entrepreneur, all you see are ads on your Facebook and Instagram called how to grow your business, how to scale your business, how to grow your business, how to scale your business, how to get 7-figure coaching business. I'm just like over all of those ads. That's a whole other thing we could talk about. But the other thing is that it doesn't doesn't, this is, and I just got this, Kimberly, when you said that, and Haji, when you said it too, was like, there's no room for exponential growth.
Yes.
Exponential growth, you can kind of plan for, but it's generally because you're working your systems in a consistent way.
Yeah.
And if you aren't using a workflow, regardless of its complexity, you can't exponentially grow. You can't have that surprise. You can't even plan for that. So, and I think that's something that every entrepreneur wants. I would love 100 people to call me today and say, hey, I want to hire you. And then I have a whole new problem called, wow, how do I serve 100 people?
Yes.
Absolutely. I'd rather deal with that problem than, oh shit, my email system's not working. Sorry, I swore. I don't know if we're allowed to do that.
No, you can swear how much money.
Okay, fine.
We don't have any.
So, swear.
Oh yeah, okay, good. So I think that's really good. I just really kind of saw that newly for myself, Haji and Kimberly, in your sharing.
All right, next question about that. In one sentence, what would you say has a workflow process be effective?
Ooh, I'll go first because I went last time, okay? So just to make it fair, all right? So I've just met these people. I don't know them, so I don't want them to think, anyways. In one sentence, like, say it one more time so I can say it.
What would you say in one sentence that has a workflow that has a workflow process be effective? What has a
workflow process be effective is ownership and leadership.
Okay. All right.
And I can expand on that if we have time.
Nope. You don't have
no time. What workflow? Sorry, repeat that sentence again.
In one sentence, what has a workflow process be effective?
What has a workflow process be effective? To me, I was going to say actually ownership as well. So darn.
You can take it.
You can steal it.
The second one is discipline.
Ooh.
I feel like as an entrepreneur, discipline is such a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like I think that without it, it's hard to keep the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I can't talk any longer.
I'm totally down with you on that. When my workflow process fails, like I said to you guys, this is not an area that I am particularly strong in. I'm particularly strong in having my clients do it, but I'm not particularly strong in it just given my personality type. I'm particularly strong at hiring people to do it for me because I know I'm not strong at it. But discipline is where it breaks down because where I don't have discipline is where it doesn't get followed. Right? Haji, your sentence.
Let's not kid each other. At the end of the day, it's about the Benjamins. So it's either got to make you money or not make you money. If the process is broken and not making you money, and you constantly are doing the same thing, then you're insane. Stop and follow the crumbs. It's got to lead you to a place where you're wealthier.
All right, I got
Otherwise, it's not a business. It's a hobby.
Exactly.
Yeah, or it's a charity, which is the worst.
Oh yeah, the one under the hobby is a charity.
Yeah, where you're spending your savings on your business, that's a charity. That's not a business.
So good.
Okay, so if everyone who's watching this, I checked for questions, by the way, there weren't any questions, so we must be doing really good at answering things. If the people who are watching this can only leave with one takeaway, what's the one takeaway you want them to leave with?
From today's call?
Yeah.
Or in life.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be something that we said on the call. But if you
is this one of we're solving the esoteric mysteries of life kind of a thing, or?
But
loaded question.
They only get one thing to get out of this conversation. Like our minds are like sieves. They're so information overload. So I want to leave them with one thing. Haji, what's the one thing you want them left with?
Ultimately, if you really want to be successful and put your heart and soul into the business and have an outcome, take a look at people, process, and technology. And question if any of those are broken, and then question how much appetite you have to fix them.
Okay, clear.
Mine would be, since I'm always in the middle, so I'll just assume that I'm second. Mine would be to not be afraid to start because it's going to change anyway. Because
very true.
Yeah.
It's going to, your business is going to change a million times. So why wait?
Yeah.
Take
You
it
might
one
as well
step.
just start. And if workflows is where you start, great. If it's not, great. But like, there's no wrong answer really, because you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to change from those mistakes. So
Sure. I like that.
whether or not you do it now or in 6 months or in 10 years, it doesn't make a difference.
Fair enough. Okay, good. Abby, going last.
Okay, so if I could leave people with one thing, I would say don't do something because it's what everybody tells you should do, or it's the most expensive workflow process or CRM or whatever on the market.
Yeah.
Do what makes you happy, what you love to do, so that you keep feeding it energy.
Awesome.
The more energy you give it, from my perspective, the more energy I have, the more money I make.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing something that drains my energy, I'm not making money. So find the thing that you love and implement that system. And like Kimberly said, you just do it, and then you might have to change it.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
That's cool.
So
It's all good.
I'm gonna
Everything's
sum-
good.
Very well said.
I'm going to sum this conversation up by saying this to all of those of you who are watching. The thing that I learned out of being involved in this conversation is that there's no right answer to workflow processes.
No.
And it really is something that if you want to be successful, you need to be thinking about, and you want to start it, and you can figure it out. And if you get stuck, or if this is not your forte, then get some support. And any of the experts that are on the call here today can support you. Feel free to reach out to them. Let me just find out where they can find you. Haji, where do they find you?
You could just go to +oneconsulting.ca.
Okay, +oneconsulting.ca for Haji. Abby, where do they find you?
You can go to abbyweiss.com.
abbyweiss.com. Look how simple this is.
Simple.
Kimberly, where do they find you?
More complicated. I don't have a website yet, so Instagram.
You're like, you're going. You already started. You're like,
I just like, yeah. Still working on it. I started this in January, so it's a work in progress. So, but I'm on Instagram, addoil.consulting.
Addoil.consulting on Instagram. And they can find all of them. All of you can be found on LinkedIn, and they're all connections of mine. So if you need to find them, you can find me.
And on Facebook, because this is where
we're on Facebook. And we're on Facebook, right?
You're clearly on Facebook, Kimberly.
you're on Facebook. Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. So listen, it was an absolute pleasure to have all three of you on. Thank you so much for giving of your time to have this conversation. It's great to connect with some old friends after not seeing you for many, many years, and catch up and see what you're doing. Thank you, everybody, for watching this. I hope you got some value out of this conversation. I really do hope you did. And you can catch me on a mostly weekly basis on Facebook Live. Just watch my social feeds for posts on the topics that we're covering. And if you are watching the recording of this and you have some questions, by all means, just pop them in the comments, and either myself or my team will get back to you and answer all the questions that you send us. So have a wonderful day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much again. And we'll talk with you soon. Bye for now.
Take care, everybody.